Hey everybody, I'm Pierre Piscitelli. So the big news this week is that after 35 years of development, Finale music notation software is being discontinued. Now this is a really big deal for anybody who uses music notation software, and I'm going to explain why. For decades, Finale, along with its primary competitor, Sibelius, which is made by Avid, have been the standard for writing music notation. If you have read sheet music that was made after the 1990s or so, there is nearly a 100% chance that you have read music that was created by one of these two programs. Think of these as the Microsoft Word or Google Docs for writing sheet music, right? They're really important. Now, I happen to be a lifelong Sibelius user, so as of the making of this video, I am okay for the time being. But that's not to say that Sibelius users haven't had their fair share of scares. Back in 2012, there was a bit of a drama in Sibelius land when Avid fired the entire Sibelius development team. A lot of my colleagues were panicking at the time and thought that it was going to be discontinued, but Avid ended up hiring a new team and they ended up continuing the development of Sibelius. That was 12 years ago now, and so far in 2024, things are still okay. Now getting back to Finale, which is the primary issue here. What are all of my fellow musicians who use Finale supposed to do? Well, according to the Finale website, they are encouraging all users to transition over to Dorico, which is a new player in what was for so long a binary game of just Sibelius and Finale. What's funny about Dorico is that, getting back to the Sibelius drama from 2012 that I just told you guys about, Dorico actually hired that team that was fired by Avid. So the Dorico development team is essentially people who used to work for Sibelius. Needless to say, I've heard that it's an excellent piece of software. Users seem to really love it, although I personally have never used it. So we now have three big players in the software game. Yes, of course, there are others. There's Make Music, there's Notate Me, there's a whole bunch of others. But right now we're focusing on these three, Sibelius, Finale, and Dorico. So if all of these programs do the same thing, then what's the big deal? Why don't Finale users just adopt the new software, take the $150 deal or whatever Finale is offering to transition to Dorico, and just move on with their lives? Not so fast. Here's why I really feel for my Finale using colleagues and why this is a very big deal. The software that we use to notate music is the pencil and paper. It is the extension of our mind, of our hands, and we depend on shortcuts, knowing where all the buttons are, knowing where all the functions are, because when we write music for other people, right? These are usually jobs that we do for others: arranging, composing, film scoring, transcribing, whatever. You are racing against the clock, always. That's just the way it is. And we depend upon the efficiency, the workflow, keyboard shortcuts, just knowing where things are when using this software. To have to learn something entirely new is a terrifying thought, and it is going to slow people down who are making a living day to day doing this. There is some semi-good news here, and that is the fact that all of these notation programs that I've mentioned can import and export XML files. XML is sort of a generic file format that should import the notes, the title, the composer, the staves, and basic stuff like that. There is no guarantee, however, that articulations, dynamics, finger numbers, all kinds of other floating elements in the score are going to import properly. And take it from me, as someone who has published several books and spent countless hours, days, weeks, months, really years, trying to make these scores look good, because they are basically pieces of visual art, right? You have to factor in where the hairpins go, where the dynamics go, how many staves are going to fit on a page, how many measures fit on a page. This is the stuff that actually takes a really long time when you build a score. If that stuff gets messed up when you're trying to export an XML from Finale to Dorico, it's going to be really bad news for these users that are trying to transition over to Dorico. Let's take a quick look at a score just so you guys can see how many elements exist in a medium-sized score. I mean, it really is crazy how much stuff you have to worry about. Just look at the title, the composer, the tempo marking, how perfectly they're placed. This double bar here, a rehearsal marking, there are dynamics, there are hairpins right here, the instrument names are formatted just the way that I want, the time signature just the way that I want. There's a copyright at the bottom. I mean, all of these elements, there are 6 measures on this page, right? If I do this, I could have 3 measures on the page. This took a lot of thought and a lot of work. Look at these tremolo markings, more hairpins, more dynamics, glissando right here. I mean, it's just endless. All of this stuff that I'm showing you actually took longer than the actual notation, just putting down the notes. That was the easy part. The beautification of the score to make it legible visual art, right? A proper visual representation of the music with adequate page turns, staff sizes and all that. That's the hard part. If I were a Finale user, I would buy a new Mac Mini today, install the latest version of Finale, and never update the computer or even connect it to the internet. This way, you have kind of a legacy machine that can open these files. Just as a final thought here, I have to tell you guys that this does have me thinking kind of existentially about the future of reading music and notating music. How long is it going to be until these companies determine that it's just not worth their resources to develop these programs? As I mentioned in the video, this happened before with Sibelius. It is happening now with Finale. And I have seen as a teacher over the past 15 years a massive decline not only in music literacy, but a willingness of kids and adults alike to read music. I could be wrong here, but I feel like there is a decreasing demand for this type of software because most of the music that you're hearing is made in DAWs like Cubase, Pro Tools, Logic, whatever. And super talented producers and artists are using these DAWs obviously to record audio, but to work with MIDI. You can use MIDI bars, you can use a MIDI keyboard, and I have students honestly that can read MIDI. They can read the keyboard and the bars, and almost like a video game, they can play along with this stuff and understand what's happening better than they can music notation. So I don't think it's very unrealistic, nor is it apocalyptic to say that someday all of these programs may no longer be developed. There just might not be a need. So what do you guys think? Am I being dramatic and apocalyptic, or is this in fact a symptom in a much larger trend? I would love to hear your thoughts. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe if you enjoyed. Thanks for watching.